and a cough from me. Tonight, we are inaugurating the new title of our show. We're now called The Inner Revolution, Changing the World from the Inside Out. It's a great beginning, right? And tonight I'm going to talk about, why do I have to worry about other people? Don't I have enough problems of my own? And that is a topic that always comes up when you're really calling on people to think about the world we live in and to try to change it. So before I get off on that topic, which I can't wait to talk about, I'd like to turn the show back over to sweet baby James, who's going to announce us who we are today.
Yes, welcome to Granny Rocks Our World.
No, James. The Inner Revolution, changing the
world. Oh, how soon we forget.
Indeed.
Yes, welcome to the Inner Revolution, changing our world from the inside out.
Changing the world from the inside out.
Changing the world from the inside out. I'm a little slow on learning the new thing. And,
but it's still us.
And I'm Sweet Baby James Maynard, and this is Beth Green, our granny.
Yes, otherwise known as Granny Rocks. Did I say this is Beth Green?
No.
I didn't. Well, this is Beth Green. Thank you. Okay, so I am really looking forward to talking about this. I can't tell you how many times I've given a talk and people say, I just can't worry about the world. I have too many problems of my own. I'm already overwhelmed on this, that, and the other. Well, people are exasperated when you talk to them about changing the world from the inside out. They complain that we are adding additional burdens to them and to their lives. And is it enough to deal with their own problems? Well, let me tell you, the answer to that is really very simple. And first, I want to share that Elizabeth has said hello and sent a heart, and
Hi,
we send a hello back, and Luann is waving.
Luann.
Hello. So the answer is, of course, you have enough problems of your own. Whoever said you weren't overwhelmed by your own problems? I am. Are you?
Well, I've certainly got a lot of problems.
That's
I'd
right.
like to think I'm not overwhelmed exactly.
Sometimes you are. The answer is yes. Yes, we have plenty to deal with in our own lives. But that is beside the point. That is, yes, we all have too many problems and we all need more help with our problems. So getting help with our problems doesn't mean that we don't have to help change the world, because if we don't change the world, then we'll never get help with our problems. Anyway, but it's deeper than that, and I'm going to get into it. And Tracy says hi. Hi, Beth.
Hi, Tracy.
For example, if climate change is causing flooding where you live, building a house on stilts won't get you to the grocery store when there's a flood, will it?
No.
So there it is. You can't just think about yourself, because you're going to come out on your balcony and you're going to look out and you're going to need a boat. If air pollution is rampant, you won't be able to get to the gym where you work out or jog or whatever it is, or your office
without breathing bad air.
Without breathing bad air. How are you going to get healthy if you live in a polluted environment, right? So you say, oh, I have so much to worry about my health. Yeah, one of the things you have to worry about is what is in your food, what is in your water, what is in your air, right?
Yeah.
Let's say you're a business person, right?
Mm-hmm.
What supplies do you do? If poor people can't buy your products, or middle class people, or working class people, you won't be able to increase your customer base beyond the few without ensuring that everybody has enough buying power. This is an issue we face around the world, not just in our own nation. You can't, but what is the point of making more cars if there's nobody who can buy them?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So what happens to your profit? So one of the things that you need to do in order to increase your profit is to make sure that people have enough money to buy them. Your products, that is. If desperate people are driving high or drunk, which they do every day, that may include you, or tired, even your chauffeur may not be able to avoid being hit by a driver who is high. And as I take a pause, I can report to you that Amy said, "Thank you for reminding us that only thinking about ourselves does not actually solve the problems of our world." Bravo, Amy.
Yes, thank you, Amy.
Have nailed it. And actually causes us to ignore those problems and their impact on all of us.
Yep.
Only thinking about ourselves causes us to ignore the problems, what is really going on. Bless you, Amy. Right on. Now, there are so many different ways that we connect to the world, and I'm going to give you some more examples. By the end of this show, I'm hoping you're going to say, "Okay, I surrender. I get it. I get it. I get it. No more. No mas. I can't take it." Okay. Let's say you're a teacher, and you're a teacher who actually cares about her students or his students. Well, you want your students to do well, don't you? I mean, it's even a question of pride, right? Well, how well do you think your students are going to do if they have been brought up with homes where there's lead in the pipes? Lead in the pipes causes brain damage, right? Todd waved back. So your kids can't do as well because they've been incapacitated by the water they've been drinking. Now, if these kids are hungry or stressed or homeless, or they're taking care of their siblings because their parents can't afford to get child care for them, then your kids won't have as much time for studying. Gee, plus they may be too upset. But, so what happens to you and your life and your desire to become the greatest teacher on the planet and to prove yourself and to prove to your mother that you're a better teacher than she is? Or just because you want to make a contribution? You're going to be frustrated by the conditions that these kids have to live in and under. Now, let's take a different kind of a situation.
And by the way, it also applies to parents, right?
Oh, exactly. Exactly. Now, if you're an employer and if you happen to need your workers, and Helen said hi, and hi, Helen. If you are an employer and you need your workforce to be able to write English, as some people do, typing letters or whatever it is, they want the correct English, which seems to be a rare commodity these days, then you need your employees to be educated. So you better care about the conditions that these kids are learning under. What's the condition of the schools? What's the condition that they are living under at home? Do they even have time to study and learn proper English? You see what I'm saying? So you can't just say, "Oh, I want my employees to be like this," right? If you don't have a big enough pool. If you need a workforce that's healthy, that needs to be able to stand on their feet, right? Those people better have good shoes. Now, back to the employer who needs good workers. If you need your workers to be stable, you need them to have transportation to work. They need childcare for their kids. They need good physical and mental health. You need them to be clear-headed, relaxed, and focused, not drugged up, drunk, or on the brink of a breakdown. Haven't we all experienced this? Any of us who've tried to do something. I remember when I was in the movement back in the 60s and 70s and 50s and all of that. Anyway, I would come to school. I actually went to school for a while and during that period, and I was in the anti-war movement. And all the kids were like high and smoking dope. And I want to tell you that those flyers were gibberish.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You couldn't even rely on people to be able to think and not to be floating in and out, right? I was being impacted. The things that I cared about were being impacted by the mental, emotional, and addictive state of the other kids that I was working with. Now, let's say you're a doctor. Don't you need your patients to be able to buy their medications? To be able to afford the co-pays or to be able to buy them. Sometimes they're not covered by insurance. Otherwise, all the efforts, I mean, you went to school for so many years and then you did your residency and all of that. But if your patients can't even follow the directions, and you know how many patients, I mean, I've read this, you probably have too, that people cut their medication in half because they can't afford it. You need your patients to have time to exercise. You need them to have access to healthy foods. You need them to be well enough mentally and emotionally to take care of themselves. So you may be living really well, and a lot of doctors are struggling too. You may be living really well, but if your patients don't have the money or the time or the conditions, you will be frustrated. It is so obvious, isn't it? We are linked and there's no escape. We cannot escape from the impact of the misery of others. I mean, how do you feel about leaving your children with a nanny who is in despair and who's not going to be giving your kids that positive, loving feeling because she's a mess? Elizabeth said all these points make sense. It's common sense. Hopefully everyone will take this in. I hope so, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you. And now there is also the other side. We need help too. Let's say you're facing retirement and you don't have a lot of private money, savings, or pensions. You need others to be defending Social Security, don't you? If you have medical needs, you need someone to be fighting for adequate health care, which covers pre-existing illnesses and catastrophic conditions and unusual treatments that are showing promise. If you are running into hard times, you need someone to care about you. And beyond that, there is what I'm calling the imponderable. The general feeling in the world impacts you every day. When people are oppressed, they are angry, they're withdrawn, they may be showing you love because they're your servants and they have to take on a certain persona in order to keep their positions.
Not just servants, but service people.
And service people. Good point, James. But if they're really angry and resentful, they won't make yours a better day, will they? They'll just fake it. You can feel it. You have a massage therapist who's touching your body and you can feel that person's energy going through you. The bottom line is this. There are no personal problems. I want you to take that in, and I really hope that you spread this show.
No problems are purely personal.
No. There are no personal problems. All problems are problems of the collective. We suffer from the same diseases. We suffer from the same conditions. We suffer from the same emotional, spiritual maladies. We all suffer from the soul sickness of living in a world where there is not enough love or caring or sense of security. The outcome of your hospital visit may well depend on the help that you're getting from someone who may not be all there because they're worrying about what's happening to their kids at that moment. or what's happening to themselves, or that their spouse has a gambling problem. We are dependent on the mental and physical well-being of the people who care for us, some of whom are low paid or sick themselves. So nothing is personal. I want to feel joy. That's what makes me happy in this world, is feeling joy, feeling energy, all that kind of stuff. And I can't feel it if I am swimming in a pool of misery. Now let's take a look at the moment at the rich. That upper 0.1% or the upper 1%. They try and have traditionally tried to insulate themselves from the conditions that other people live in. They have their mansions, they have their gates, they have their islands, they have this, they have that, they have their little social clubs, the golf club, all that stuff. And they try. But nothing can ultimately insulate you or yours from the whole world. You get on that plane. I don't care if you're flying first class. And if the person who's flying it is impaired, or that plane has not been maintained properly because the company is cutting corners, you could be dead. Give it up. This idea. See, somebody has got to mop your floors, rich people. Somebody has to work in your factories, fields, and offices. Somebody has to teach your kids, make your clothes, give you that facial, drive your car. Amy said, this reminds me of something you said long ago, that the question is not whether or not we are brother's keeper, because we are our brother. That is right, Amy. This goes beyond charity, doesn't it? This is a wake-up call beyond charity. We need to care about others not because we are good or because we are charitable. It's because we are one and we can't help it. We're impacted. And another thing I will say about the rich, and we've seen it from the aristocracy, and we've seen it from our rock star aristocracy, and we've seen it everywhere. Anybody who's been close to the rich. They can't insulate themselves from the pain of being insulated. Feeling
Right.
afraid of other people, not wanting to leave their house. It's like the Buddha, who was kept in this palace grounds by his father, who didn't want him to see suffering. But he couldn't stand it. He couldn't stand staying there. And then he discovered the truth. And he wanted to do something about it. We are sick if we stay in our own little world, aren't we? Whether you're a gun lover or a gun hater, you stay in that little world, you will find that your thinking becomes narrower, your opinions get stronger, and your soul gets sicker. Even on that level, you see. We have also seen the soul sickness of those who are focused only on their own pleasure and can afford to indulge themselves and don't feel like they have any value. We all know about that, don't we?
Yeah.
So, the next time you think that it's too hard to change the world, remember it's harder to live a truly happy life without changing it. So remind the folks when we'll be back, James.
Yeah, we're going to be back this coming Monday, as well as this next Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. Pacific time. So keep coming back, and we'll keep growing together in our consciousness as we change our world, change the world, as we change ourselves.
Exactly, and that's what we're going to do. I have committed to this topic for the duration. I don't know how long the duration is going to be because there are so many aspects of it. We just touched on one tonight. And I hope that you like this show, that you comment, even if you're watching afterwards. I always respond to those comments later. I hope that you share it with everybody. And I hope that you help spread this consciousness everywhere, because we all need to be reminded of this. It's so easy to get lost in our daily lives and in our daily struggles. And that's the way we get manipulated, because we lose our perspective. We're not seeing the whole picture, and we are not making the only fight that's ever going to change anything, which is a fight to change the world from the inside out. And don't forget, Thursday night, Dreams of Peace. I will be playing the piano for you wonderful people. Also, I want to remind you that the Handbook for the Inner Revolution is a free download on my website. I have information in the post. As soon as I get our post up tonight, you'll see links and you'll see lots of other information. So I see there's another comment. Todd said thank you. Thank you, Todd.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you all.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye for now.
I'm seeing the love and I'm just taking it in. Okay. Okay.